Welcome to the Walking with God and Nature podcast. Today we have on a guest that I have known for a very long time, and I'm so grateful for her to be here. Her name is Katie Patten, and she is a mother of three, and she is a nature enthusiast. So she shared with me that even she loves to be outside every day. And when she had to be inside with her first child, when her first child was born, for 2 days, she was going crazy. So here's Katie. I'm going to have Katie introduce herself a little more if she wants. Katie, you have anything else you want to add to that introduction?
Sure. I grew up in Montana, and my family was not a very wealthy family. So our vacations were always camping or hiking or backpacking. And so that's, I think, where I kind of, and anywhere we could drive, we never were on a plane. It was never Disneyland. That was never the thing because we just couldn't afford it. And so it was whatever we could pack in the car and however far we could drive. But it always consisted of, and I kind of hated this as a child, but we always ended up staying in national forest campgrounds that were like pit toilets. And
oh yeah.
But I think that's where part of my love for for nature and the outdoors came from, because I experienced it from a very young age. So
that was ingrained in you.
What was that?
It's ingrained in you.
Yes. I've been taught to love it. So
that's awesome. So that's why you're always wanting to be in nature. I think that's great. And I don't think, and I love that financially it kind of pushed your family that way. I mean, I think it's great for any economic status to get out in nature, but it pushed you. So that's what a blessing.
Yeah.
So we were talking before and you said, okay, can you share your favorite season?
My favorite season is hands down fall. I love fall. So this time of year is awesome. I know people who come from the New England area would say that we don't have real falls in Utah. That's where I live, which is true. I've lived in New England for a couple of years and their falls are amazing. The first time I actually lived in New England in the fall, I was a little bit claustrophobic because I really was. I came from Montana, and Montana is big sky country.
Yeah.
So it's just these wide open spaces, huge skies. And there were just trees everywhere. And I was like, oh, I can't. I just felt a little claustrophobic because I couldn't see the sky.
Right.
But now in Utah, it's kind of a mix of those two things, where up in the mountains, we have these great leaves changing and something I didn't see as much in Montana. And I just love it. I love the crisp morning air where you have to wear a jacket. By the afternoon, you have to take it off because it's too warm. And it is definitely my favorite season of the year.
That's awesome. Yeah. So as you were saying fall, it made me think of New England states. We had the opportunity to go up there. I grew up in Oregon, so I grew up with trees, but never the color changes like New England. So, and I think you're right. Utah has a good little mix there, and the canyons up there are beautiful in the fall. Yeah. So I miss Utah when we lived there. So in the mountains.
Yeah.
So speaking of camping and childhood, do you have any crazy stories from that, or?
I was actually thinking about this morning. My one vacation we went on, and I don't have a huge recollection of this. I actually, this is more my brother's story than mine, because I remember him talking about it. I was pretty young. I was the youngest of 4 children. So I kind of just got dragged along to whatever was planned, right? And
yeah.
So we had gone backpacking in they were called the Beartooth Mountains. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. We'd been gone for a day or two, and it just, the weather just changed on us, and hail and rain, and it was cold. And this is Montana, it can snow in the summer. So it was cold and everything got wet. And that was pretty crazy for me. I wasn't afraid because, I was young and my parents were saying, oh, it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. But my brother will talk about how he was just terrified. And I have no recollection of this, but this goes with that walking with God and nature theme. But he talks about how he remembers that at one point my my family, my dad and my mom were like, okay, we're not in a good situation, basically. We need to pray. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we all knelt down and prayed, apparently. Again, I don't remember it, but my brother talks about how it's the first time he really felt the hand of God in his life, being out in nature and being in a position that wasn't the best position, and then being asked and with his family asking God to help us. So that was kind of a cool experience for him.
Yeah.
I do remember the backpacking trip. I
You
just don't
got out
remember.
alive, so it was a good ending.
We
Right?
did. We all got out alive.
Wow, that's neat. So have you had an experience where you've felt God through nature or in nature? Or?
Definitely. I mean, I would say there's been many times when I've been in nature, and I use it actually as a time to kind of commune and to get direction a lot. I'll kind of ponder things that are going on in my life, things that I need like a little direction with. And that happens actually pretty frequently. Even just, I live right by the foothills of a mountain, and I'll go walk up there with my dog and think about things that are going on. And I do that weekly, probably. So
That's awesome. You do that all throughout the year, like no matter the weather?
yes, yes, I do. I just put on my boots and I go. Again, like you said, I hate being inside, like
Yeah.
for extended amounts of times. I get stir crazy. And my husband will tell you sometimes I'm just like, I just have to go outside. I'm going on a walk. And I just leave what I'm doing and I'm gone for 20, 25 minutes, and I come back and I'm in a much better place.
Yeah. You're a much happier person to be with, right?
Yes.
And that's awesome. That's for me. Like it just brings peace, and just
Yes.
you can breathe and think freely, and clear your head, clear your spirit.
Oh yeah, I think probably the simplest ways for me to like really feel God when I'm out in nature. Typically the times I feel that more are when I'm alone.
Mhm.
So and I know it's not necessarily safe to go alone a lot. So
Yeah.
if I'm going somewhere alone, it's always on a trail that is well traveled. So I'm alone, but there's other people there.
Right.
If something were to happen, I'd have some support. And I always take my dog with me. Because me and my dog, we love hiking. But he doesn't talk to me, so I
Right.
don't get distracted by that. So it just being alone allows me to kind of ponder more, kind of to go through my thoughts and to listen for any kind of inspiration that I need to receive at that time. And sometimes I'll just go, and I remember one time I was at a youth camp, and all the youth kind of were doing their own thing, and it was night, and to be honest, I really didn't want to be there.
Really?
Because I had other commitments at home that seemed more important than me. I felt extraneous. I felt like I didn't need to, like what I was doing was not needed.
Mhm.
And so I was kind of in this like, why am I even here? Like blah blah blah.
Right.
And so I kind of went out on my own a little bit, and there was this little lake, and I just went and sat. And sometimes that's what I just need to do. You just sit and be quiet. And as I sat, the sun was going down, and then there was just this beautiful sunset over this little lake, and I was just there enjoying it by myself. And I just had like this feeling of like my God's love for me, and knew like, okay, maybe this isn't the coolest thing I'm doing being here, but God knows I'm here, and he knows me and loves me. So that was one instance of just being still. Sometimes that helped me to connect better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and he loved your effort of being there, even though you had other things you could have been doing. What I think that is a huge blessing yourself, because you'll carry that feeling with you that you felt then. and just that strength of, yeah, doing what you know he wants you to be doing, even though it's
Yeah.
not the easiest thing. So do you have any other tips for people of how they can connect with God through nature?
I would just say you have to find something that you enjoy doing in nature. Some people don't like nature, or they really don't. I have people who
Which is
I,
hard
I
for me to understand.
I know,
Yeah.
for me too. I don't understand that either. I work, I'm a physical therapist and I work in home health. So I go into a lot of people's homes and I get to know people pretty well. And most of the people I work with are elderly, so they're at a different stage in life.
Right.
But I talk to a lot of people about what they used to do and things like that. And I've run into a fair number of people who just have absolutely no interest in any of that kind of thing, being outside. They'd rather be inside watching TV and that kind of thing. And that to me is
Oh,
just
yeah.
Like, um, and then there's people who think, I think there's a certain number of people who believe that nature equals physical activity, which there is a fair amount of that.
Mhm.
But I think you can find ways to be in nature that don't require that if that's not your thing. So finding what you like and enjoy doing, whether it's a physical activity or if it's just going. And I have a neighbor I know who she and her family, they have four-wheelers,
Oh, yeah.
and that's how they enjoy being in nature,
Uh-huh.
because they get on the four-wheelers and go, or snowmobiling. So I think finding the thing that you enjoy to allow you to be there. And then once there, this is another thing that I really try to do, is I try to look for God's hand in what I'm seeing, just like, and really see the beauty of what's around me. Pay attention to the small things that you might not notice if you're not kind of in tune with that, or not trying to see it.
Uh-huh. And I think if you just take a moment, just focus on how are you seeing God's hand, you'll see it.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
So that's awesome you do that. That's good.
I mean, I've had a couple kind of crazy, and they always deal with weather. It's always weather that you don't see, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think you're prepared, and then weather hits, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm not as prepared as I thought I was.
Yeah. And the weather is getting so unpredictable, it seems like.
Yeah. So like this summer, we took our youth up to, we did a little youth conference thing, and river rafting, and water kind of terrifies
I saw that.
me.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it was fantastic actually, but water kind of terrifies me. Like,
oh, really?
Like river water.
Okay. Because you might drown. I mean,
Yeah, like
it sucks
I
you
can't predict it. Like
Mhm.
if I can predict it, I can control hiking. I know what's happening. Like if I get lost, I can backtrack my steps. Like, but water just, I don't know, it kind of terrifies me. But for some reason, my family really wants to be on the water. Like, well, Eric used to do some guiding on like the, and just Provo, but like he really likes the river. So we did, like, with my brother's family, we went on a 7-day rafting trip down in southern Utah.
Awesome.
It was amazing. And like once you put in, there was only one place you could take out after like 2 days. And
Wow.
then after that, you were committed for like another 4 or 5 days. So you're on the river, and we had to haul all our stuff with us. And
on the bank or what? Or
yep,
okay.
you just pull off the edge, and there's certain places that are better for it, that are kind of marked out.
Uh-huh.
But we had pulled off to sleep at this one place, and we weren't, I just wasn't thinking. And so we set up our tents, and we're like, oh, this is a really nice flat sandy area. It was soft and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, and we were in like a really deep, like canyon.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden it just rained, like,
oh god.
And water is just coming down the cliffs. There were like waterfalls all of a sudden down the cliffs. And we're like, and I look over, and our tent is floating down.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it hadn't gotten to the river yet, but it was on its way. And I'm like, So we're running and we're like trying to pull it to the side. And after we got everything off, we're all huddled under this little ledge. That one picture I sent you of me in nature,
Uh-huh.
that was in that spot.
Yeah.
That was that night. And it was just a lesson, like, we did not pay very good attention. Going back and looking, you could see like little divots where the water had, obviously this happens with some frequency, because there were like little trails where the water would
Oh.
cooled. And I
Uh-huh.
just didn't even pay attention to that, because we're like, oh, the weather's nice, blah, blah, blah.
And you were with guides, right?
What's that?
Or it was your brother the guide, or were you
Yeah,
with?
my brother thought he was the guide.
Okay.
And we kind of did some research on it before. He's the one who really wanted to do it. So we got some books and looked at it. That's the other thing. My brother is always I'm doing this myself. Like, I don't need somebody to show me how to do it.
Oh yeah.
So he will research things. His family is crazy, like with nature and being outdoors. Like, they've come closer to dying more times than I think they probably care to admit. But they've always survived, so they're always like, it was an adventure. But like that. And then this summer, like I said, we took some youth up to go whitewater rafting, and the weather had been okay. Like, they're cloudy skies. It wasn't a great day for rafting, but we were like, okay, let's go. And we did have a guide for this one.
Okay. Is
And
this
he'd been,
before or after your brother's trip?
this was after.
Okay, so you learned you needed a real guide.
Yeah. Well, and I would never do it on my own. Like, if it's me, I'm like, I'm hiring somebody that knows what they're doing. When this was youth conference, so
Oh yeah, yeah.
it was actually our bishop's, one of his good friends who had been like, when they were younger, his friend had done it as a guide, like as his summer employment for like many years. And then he just liked it so much that he bought his own boat, and like, he takes people back all the time. That's kind of his way to give back now. As he says he likes to take at least one youth group every summer, one or two, and he takes them down the river. And he has this whole, it's actually really awesome. It's this whole like presentation about the river and life. And
that's cool.
He was amazing. But yeah, so we're on the river, and all of a sudden it starts thundering, and we're all like, oh. And he's so calm. He's like, it's okay. He's like, until we can, like, basically until we can see it, you know, and until, you know, he's like, there's a certain distance that we know we got to get out. And he's like, until then we're good. So we keep going, and it keeps getting louder and closer. And he had said, okay, this was actually really cool, because the girls, I just had girls with me. It was before the boys showed up. It was weird. But he had told them, he's like, okay, when we come around this corner, we'll probably go off to the left, and then we'll get out for a little while and see what happens. You know, he's totally calm. I'm like, are we gonna die? Lightning, lightning, we're on water, lightning. But he said, so we came around this corner, and then he was like, we're going to the right. He's like, paddle hard right. So we're all paddling, you know, and he steered us, and he's like, we're going over there. We get out, and he's like, okay, everybody out, go to that little group of trees. And we're like, okay. So we all go up to these trees, and like, literally, like, the second we got to the trees, it just started hailing, like, huge,
wow,
like dime-sized, quarter-sized hail just coming down.
wow.
And it was really cool, because he shared with the girls, he's like, I was headed to the left because there's a nice, like, pull out area. That's where I would usually have gone. That's what I saw. He's like, but I was listening, and I heard, go to the right, get under the trees. And he's like, so that's what we did.
Wow.
And so it was really awesome for the girls to like see him listening to the promptings that he was getting, and
Yeah,
you know, safe as we're all huddled there. Like, it was so cold. It was like 40 degrees, and it's wet.
what was the weather like normally before the rain and the hail?
So it, like, that day, it wasn't super warm. Like,
Okay.
we knew it wasn't gonna be like a warm day, but we didn't think that was happening.
Right.
But
Yeah,
So
that,
that was pretty
that
cool.
is a neat experience. I mean, not that you wanted it, but
No,
the
but
opportunity to learn from
it's a
that.
good opportunity to learn and to see, and I think it really impacted the girls, like um and I think they all felt safe too, like, and
Yeah.
it was kind of cool as we were sitting there under the trees. Some of them were a little nervous, you could tell, and they actually started singing like primary songs and
I think of a lot of times when I think of you, I think of your experience of going sledding down the glaciers, right? In the mountains.
it's just hiking trails.
Just
So
hiking trails? Okay.
yeah, yeah. So there's this, and I don't know if they do this other places. I think they must, but there's kind of a movement actually.
Oh,
And
you started it.
I don't think we started it. We've been on it from early on though. Some people refer to it as adventure sledding. I've actually Googled that and you can find people doing that.
Oh,
My sister-in-law is the one who kind of pulled me into it, and she calls it Sleking. So it's a
okay.
combination of sledding and hiking. So she calls it Sleking. So that's what my family calls it. But in the winter, when we have enough snow, and you have to find the right trails, once there's enough snow, you can find a trail that you can hike up, and then you have to have you don't have to have a certain kind of sled, but it works better with certain types of sleds.
Okay.
And then you slide down. There's one trail that's pretty near to us, probably about a 25-minute drive from where I'm at, that is really well suited to this. It's kind of got a funnel shape trail. And
Okay.
so it snows and you're coming down, it's not like you're going to fly off the edge of a cliff.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. And we can go on good days, you can go up about 2.5 miles, and we just hike up, you get on your boots and your traction, and we've figured out how to tie our sleds onto our backpacks and what we need to wear. You get up to the top and then you change all your clothes out, because coming down is colder and you have to get
Oh
your
yeah.
snow pants and your goggles, so it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But on some days, that whole way down, it's steep enough and it gets packed down enough that in a 2-mile course, you probably walk like maybe 20 yards at the most. And so
Oh,
it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
that's fun.
There was one day we did that, and it was kind of in the spring when it would start to melt and then freeze at night and then melt during the day. So the trail got really icy, and I thought I was going to die. Like, I was going so fast. I had my legs and my arms, I was dragging everything. Very exhilarating though. And it makes the hike like even extra worth it.
Yeah, extra bonus when you get to the top, you slide back down.
Yeah.
So has anybody had a real big crash or anything? Or you guys?
No, we not with that. We've been we try and be really careful. We take our kids sometimes to do that. And the trail is shared with people who are just hiking. There's people who are snowshoeing up it.
Oh, right.
We've seen people who will hike up and ski down. They carry their downhill skis and they'll ski down it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people on the trail. So we always emphasize, we have to be respectful of other people. And we're the ones coming down. We need to get out of the way. We're the ones who might be out of control.
Can you get out of the way easily?
Yeah, you can bail off your sled.
Okay.
Except for that one time. I'm not sure I could have bailed if I had wanted to. But typically,
watch out.
And that's what we've taught like our kids and anybody that we take with us. If there's a question, just bail. Like, just roll off your sled, you'll be fine. Because there's enough snow on the edges that nobody's gotten hurt, thankfully.
That's good. Put on your helmets,
Yeah. Some people do wear their helmets. I don't have one, but
yeah.
I don't have
on the edge.
Yeah. Typically. Not really. I'm on a bike, I've got a helmet. Anywhere else I've got a helmet. I just have like a skiing helmet. I should probably just wear my bike helmet. That's a good idea.
So what is your favorite thing to do outdoors?
I love hiking. that's kind of my thing now.
Okay.
I used to be a runner. And then
Right.
like 10 years or so ago, it's been a while now, I developed plantar fasciitis in my foot. And I mean, like where it was painful to walk, it was painful to do anything for
Yeah.
about 3 years. And I tried everything. I mean, people would tell me to take cod liver oil. I would do anything, literally anything to try and get it to go away because running was my release.
Uh-huh.
But I got it to where it doesn't hurt me, but the second I try and run, it comes right back. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, wow.
But I
Even
can
now?
yeah, even now, if I run, I could go try and run for a mile and tomorrow I would feel it.
Uh,
So, but I can hike and it doesn't bother me.
that's
So
good.
that's kind of where my attention shifted,
Uh-huh.
which I actually like it better because when I hike, I'm in the mountains. I'm more in nature than when I was running on the roads or wherever, just because wherever is close to my house, that's what it is. So that's kind of my thing now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's I used to live a few doors down from Katie, and yeah, that was a blessing of living where we did, is just the mountains, and I truly miss them. I live in East Texas now, where it's not mountains. People think there are mountains here, but they're just big hills. But so
They're
they'll
not
call
mountains.
them mountains. I mean, I guess up a little bit in the other states, not too far, there's some mountains, but yeah, so that was a blessing to go in the mountains. Do you feel that's where you feel God the most, when you're outdoors, like in the mountains?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess just getting away from the city and
Yeah, and there's typically fewer people, so there's a little more serenity, I think, than even like at the beach. And I guess it depends what beach you're at, but you go to the beach and there's like still a million people there.
right.
At least the beaches I've been to. Maybe I haven't been to the right beach.
Yeah,
But the mountains, especially if you're hiking or backpacking or something like that, it takes a little more effort than pulling up to a parking lot. And so I think you get a little less traffic through those areas, which helps me to kind of step away and be able to connect a little bit more.
yeah. So do you have a bucket list of things to do in nature?
Um, there's places I really would like to go and see. One of them is Havasupai. Havasupai is in Arizona. It's part of the Grand Canyon, but it's not like the part that like the national park part. It's on reservation lands, and so
Okay.
it's controlled by that tribe. So it's a little, and they have like a permit system and reservation system you have to go through, and so it's a little bit harder to be able to get, you can't just walk up and be like, I'm going down, because they control who goes down and stuff.
Okay.
It looks amazing. Like there's these just amazing waterfalls, and it's like a 10-mile hike down into the canyon, and they have like a campground and stuff down there. It looks amazing from the pictures you see. We actually, I had, because I got online just at the perfect time and had enough permits and nights for camping for my family in the cart. And then at the last minute, I, for some reason, was like, well, I know why, probably now, but at that time I was like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I canceled it all out. And that was in February, and in March, the whole world shut down.
Oh yeah.
So it's probably a good thing I didn't, because it's expensive too. To go, I think for 3 nights with the permits and everything, it was going to cost us close to $3,000 for
Oh
5
wow.
hours. Yeah,
That's a big
they charge heavy
yeah.
for you to be able to go.
To deter so many people from going, probably.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. So obviously we ended up not going because I canceled it, but we probably would have been able to go anyway with all the restrictions that came down.
Yeah. So that was probably God's hand.
Yeah.
Blessing you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, because I was almost to click,
Uh-huh.
confirm payment, and then I was just like, no, I can't do it.
Something
Part
doesn't
of it was
feel right.
part of it was the price tag shock. It's like, whoa, that's a lot of money for a 1-week vacation backpacking.
Right. You
But
could have gone to Disneyland. No, just kidding.
yeah, so that's one of the places I'd really like to see. I would love to go back to Half Dome. I hiked Half Dome with my brother when I had just graduated from high school. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I would love to go back and take my kids with me. That's the thing. I drag my children along on these things.
which is
And some,
awesome.
yeah, my oldest now will seek out those things on her own. Like she organizes hikes and stuff with her friends, which is awesome to me.
Yeah,
The other two still, I know they like it, but they haven't gotten to the point where they're the ones driving it.
right.
But, and
Your
then
oldest is out on her own, so now she's taking.
yeah, she
Yeah.
has to do it.
Yeah. She doesn't have mom planning it, so
Yeah, mom's not there to drive it, so she got it. But and then I've never been to like Hawaii, or I've heard Costa Rica is amazing. So there's some places like that you see like these amazing scenes, and I'd love to get there, but I have to figure out how to afford that first.
right. There's always a way. Just gotta figure it out.
At some point I will figure it out.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today and all your insights and fun stories. You're awesome. I miss being by you. You have a great influence in so many ways, and nature to me, just when I think of you, I think of nature.
Thank you.
Your love of nature. So it's awesome. So thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.